Hey, you sure you're gonna be all right?
Remember, we chose a house that survived World War III.
Everyone take cover!
The interns made it out, sir, but the president and the vice president did not.
Washington, D.C. has suffered a major earthquake.
This is Lance Cushing.
I need your expertise. How soon can you get here? I'd like your assistance in our search for the president. We believe they're trapped somewhere on the second floor.
That White House is liable to collapse any minute now.
How much time do I have?
Less than 90 minutes.
Coming back. I think it's an SOS.
I'm in here!
We can expect some pretty severe aftershocks.
We have another problem.
The White House might be under siege.
We could get some drill rigs out here and bore holes. We could disperse the shockwaves.
Go! All of those drills crossing the bridge will be too heavy. The bridge will collapse.
Don't move!
There's a second quake coming, and it's gonna be stronger.
Send help now!
Welcome to They Called This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and podcast services by searching They Called This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TCTAMPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Called This a Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Maestro. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Oh, I
How
knew
you
it.
doing?
I had a feeling.
All right. Well, I
Yeah,
hate that. I hate it.
I was deciding which to start off with, to do an oi or a cheers, or I thought cheers, gentlemen, worked best.
It's Tuesday, ain't it?
Yeah, in it.
That was like a southern British accent. Oh, that makes
Mark's
me
just on-
happy.
Mark's just on very thin ice this week.
Yeah, I thought I'd at least get that in when I could before Ant mutes my mic on
For
Discord
the rest of the
for
podcast.
the rest of the podcast as
What-
punishment.
This is, Mark was on vacation and then immediately came back and just announced his arrival with such fury and vitriol for us with this fucking movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's because Mark was away, but when Mark was away, we had so much fun. We watched Baywatch. It was a great time.
We did.
And I'm not saying he came back and he ruined the party, but he sort of did.
Well, I think that's what it was. Like, he saw, like, wait, like, these motherfuckers are having fun without me.
Right.
I'm not, no. Can't have that.
Yeah.
And then he recommended this movie.
I mean, I'll be honest, guys. If you want me to go back to London, I will go back to London. I mean, put a gun in my head.
We just don't want you to torture us in such a way that wants us to make you go back
Right.
to London.
Yeah, I don't think you should take the fact that we watched Baywatch without you personally, because it wasn't personal. It was just circumstances made us unable to watch a full-grown movie. So we decided to treat ourselves with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair meeting the Baywatch babes.
Well, Can I peel the onion
I
back?
had to bring you guys back down. That was the point.
Yeah. Well, mission accomplished. Yeah. George Bush is flying down on an aircraft carrier with that banner.
Yeah, Mark's got the
Did it.
banner in his.
You did it, Mark.
at his home. But
Yeah.
just to peel the onion back a little bit, we almost didn't even do an episode because you were away, Mark. That's how much like you mean to us.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause Anthony was messaging us and like, oh, it's been a rough week. Mark's away. Maybe we take a little mini vacation ourselves. But then Ant came up with the idea of doing the Baywatch episode, and everyone was happy. Mark, we came out smiling and just.
I mean, I know you guys just wanted to celebrate Hulk Hogan's birthday. You don't have to couch it in anything.
100% completely accidental that we dropped that episode on the Hulkster's 70th birthday, but that is sort of the way things have been going recently, as we also just realized the little serendipitous thing. But
If I had one last thing to say, Mark, happy to have you back. Love you. You're one of our closest friends. Don't ever do this again.
yeah, maybe if a movie has literally 0 reviews by critics or audience on Rotten Tomatoes, maybe there's a reason.
I was taking a chance. We're going to be the first.
That's a good way to look at it, though.
Sure.
We watch this so you don't have to, audience.
Oh, and please do not.
Yeah. Get that right out in front.
Yeah.
Even if you're looking for some Gerard Butler knockoff movie, this is not it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, okay, Mark, we've kind of teased it and foreplayed it a little bit enough. So why don't you tell us which movie you subjected us to this week?
Yeah, so I was flipping through Tubi because I needed to fill out our schedule a bit, and then I saw a movie called DC Down, which is our movie this week. Tubi original, came out this year, I believe. I believe it is a 2023 movie. I saw that it had Eric Roberts, friend of the podcast, in it, and Sean Young, who is kind of batshit crazy herself. And I just thought, oh, it's a fun time. And I can make jokes about it being similar to a Gerard Butler movie to sort of have a nice playful time with Dan. And none of those things happened. It is nowhere close to a Gerard Butler type movie. Eric Roberts is not insane enough despite being evil in this movie. I was waiting for a nice monologue where he kind of slurred his words a little bit. Did not happen, even though he did slur his words a couple times, which made me laugh. And Sean Young is not in it enough to go nuts, except for the crazy part where she just puts her jacket over the vice president's face when she dies. While her
what would you do? What would you do in that situation, Mark?
I mean, I don't know what accomplished. Like it felt like she was just. It felt like more like a movie scene. Like if it was like a real life situation, you'd probably just like put her on the ground, sort of, and still try and figure out a way out of there or just get away. Maybe I don't have
right. This is done. It's not a documentary. You realize that, right?
No, I do.
This did not happen
yet. But yeah,
feds listening into the next episode.
Oh, I had that written in my notes, but continue. I'll get to it in a bit.
Yeah, I absolutely was disappointed in this movie because I thought maybe we could unearth a little bit of a gem especially with Eric Roberts in it. But I was poorly mistaken, and I do apologize despite the jokes at the beginning here because I thought this would be. I didn't think it would be. I picked this, to be honest, before the Baywatch thing, so I am kind of upset of how much it brought down the energy on the podcast here. But this is of the ones I chose. I think this should be the worst one. Of the things I have coming up, but I will double check that now. But yeah. So DC Down, it goes somewhere between political conspiracy / disaster movie, and is not enough of either to be any good. And a lot of really stupid scenes, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Sure. All right, Dan, where are you coming from with DC Down?
So to Mark's point, about the whole Gerard Butler knockoff. It's a Gerard Butler knockoff just in the fact that it takes place partially in the White House. And that's it. There's nothing else after that. But that's what they were going for. They were obviously going for Olympus Has Fallen, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is we don't know who our villain is until 40 minutes into the movie, and everything is circumstantial. Whereas in Olympus Has Fallen, we know fairly early that I believe it's the North Koreans who have set up this whole.
Well, it had to be because it was probably originally the Chinese, and they had to change that.
Right. So so early in that movie, the North Koreans plan an assault on the White House. In this movie, a natural disaster occurs, and that kind of spurs on the events of the villain.
Yeah, there was some vague reference to a Russian thing going on that never gets resolved.
Yeah, it's basically the movie didn't know which way it wanted to go because there's far too many natural disasters happening. Like they're focusing on the earthquake way too much, instead of the earthquake happens and that's it. Then
Yeah.
the villain can kind of do his thing from there. But we just keep having to deal with tremors and aftershocks, all these other things. So it gets very muddled.
Yeah, like you could have. Obviously, there's a lot of good ways to write this movie, but just in the simple sense, even if you had to have the earthquakes in there a lot, you could have had the first earthquake happen. You said things happen, and then while our hero is tracking down like whoever's trying to get the president, a second the aftershock happens, and it puts a barrier between you and the evil guys, and then you have to go find a new way to get to them. And that would have kept the earthquake involved. But yeah, way too much focus on the doctor here. But yeah, it just didn't know what it wanted to be, and it's one of those movies that we do this a bunch on here. It just makes me wish we could make one of the movies you guys have written, if this shit could get produced.
I stopped writing notes on this movie about a half hour in.
Yeah,
so I was like, this isn't even worth writing notes. It does the bare minimum in all facets of making a movie. Very poor dialogue, crazy camera work. It's a ripoff in the worst way. Like it's an Asylum film, right? I thought there was at the beginning. So you know what you're getting yourself into with these, but
yeah,
I don't know. It was just boring. It was boring, unoriginal, and and like I was saying before about putting myself or ourselves on a list. I looked up what is the can the White House survive an earthquake, and apparently it can't. So they at least did their research there. So I give them that much credit.
Yeah, okay. And the thing you made about not knowing who the villain was, I think just seeing Eric Roberts come in and slur his first couple of lines, I was like, I know who the villain is.
I figured it was him, because why else would he be in it? But you really have to announce that earlier.
Yeah. There's no. We have a history with him where we can sort of feel, oh, he's definitely taking this role to be this guy. Coming in cold, never seeing Eric Roberts before. They take way too long to announce it. I mean, it gets kind of obvious a little closer to the 40 minutes than the obvious reveal. But it takes entirely too long, and they spend too much of the first half of the movie with the rescue effort.
Yeah.
As for me, I wish this was DC Cab with Mr. T.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, you don't know DC Cab?
No, what is that?
Look up. It's another movie that has Mr. T in it, and I wish this movie was DC Cab. Yeah. So White House Down was 9 years ago. Who gives a shit? Why are we doing a mockbuster of this at this point? Honestly, Gerard Butler doesn't care about White House Down anymore. Or Olympus Has Fallen, whichever one he was in.
Well, White House Down is the one with Channing Tatum.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah. Who gives a shit? I might ban Asylum movies after this from ever taking place on this podcast.
So do we have a ceremony where we sort of raise a banner to the rafters?
This movie doesn't even deserve it.
Right, that's Sword and Sandals movies.
Because at least the Sword and Sandals movies have some sort of fun to them in one aspect.
Yeah.
Usually there'll be some silly fight scenes or some really cheesy dialogue, but this is just pain.
Yeah. It was a slog to get through. I had every intention to watch this in one sitting yesterday, and I got 25 minutes in, which I think was the first commercial break, and I couldn't do it. In one sitting. I did everything I could besides watch this movie, and we're giving Mark a little bit of shit for picking this movie. It happens. We've probably watched more boring movie, but for whatever reason, this movie hit me just over it feels like.
Did it hit you in the tibia?
It hit me right in the tibia. I couldn't care. The effort here is so minimal. It's so lazy, and now I have to they didn't make this movie so we could record a podcast on it, but at the same time, there is no effort in making this movie. Like the green screens are abysmal, and like when Neil Breen does it, at least it's earnest, right?
There's a charm to
Because
it.
there's a charm to it because he's got no money. You know, this is an Asylum movie. They've got some money. It's not a lot,
And
but
with Neil Breen, it's the best he could do. And
yeah,
he is throwing everything into it. Like this to him, it's art. To Asylum, it's a money grab.
yeah. So yeah, I think that is the difference. It's like Breen is doing it because he has to, right?
Yeah.
And here it's just like, well, because it's cheaper, and then we can make more money on the back end by keeping the costs down.
Right.
I forgot Sean Young was in this. Like I saw her name on the cast, and then I was like, oh yeah, Sean Young's in this. I watched this entire movie before I remembered Sean Young was in this.
That was a shame.
Yeah. And then I thought
She
it'd be fun.
phones it in.
She phones it in, yeah. I didn't realize that was the vice president for most of the movie. It was just Rachel to me.
Yeah.
Like I guess she's some sort of like secretary or like an assistant, but no, she's the vice president.
I thought she was an aide.
Yeah.
Which goes against every like rule the government has of having those two in the same room.
Yeah, but at the same time, we kind of have to give kudos to a female president and a female vice president of color.
Yep.
Which is well, obviously we have a vice president right now that is that way, but two women in the highest seats of power. So
yep,
at least they went that way.
Yeah, that's why it's a sci-fi movie.
Right. That's why Eric Roberts wanted them dead, I think. I don't know.
And speaking of which,
that would have been more interesting if that was his reasoning.
Right. Like he was like an undercover like Trumper kind of person, you know?
Yeah, no, it's just he just wants to be president. It's so dull. Such a dull it's like there's nothing more meaningful behind his intentions other than he just wants to be president. And I guess he's been waiting for an earthquake this entire time. He's just biding his time, hoping an earthquake hits Washington, D.C. in his lifetime.
How great is that, though?
Right.
like this is the greatest day of Eric Roberts' life.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. You all said I was crazy for planning this. Now who's the crazy one?
I've invested 50 years in the United States government, an entire career, just in case I'm in a position of power where I would only need to kill 2 people in order to become president in the case of an earthquake. And that'll be my false flag. Will be an earthquake. There are like moments where you think they're going to say, "Oh, there's something else happening," like when our hero Lance and that other woman are just crawling through that narrow corridor, which they make us try. They're trying to portray it as like a tunnel, like a really small, like almost like The Descent sort of small hole, but it's like just like kind of a narrow hallway. And they're like, "Oh, I can't see what's going on up there. Oh, let me try and get closer. Oh, I'm stuck. I can't." And then like nothing comes of it. Like I thought there was gonna be like, oh my god, there's nukes set underneath this White House. It's gonna blow up or something like that. This has been planted.
I kept waiting for the rub.
Yeah,
because you don't just have a natural disaster movie with the White House. There's got to be something more, right? There's got to be espionage, terrorism, something.
Nope.
So
just red herrings.
Yeah, just red herrings. So for 40 minutes, I'm just I guess this is the movie. It's just trying to rescue the president and vice president from being trapped.
And they make it so much more difficult than it needs to be. Like there's a whole moment like at the end, obviously, when the militia, the evil militia, gets to the president and they're like, "Oh yeah, we gotta like the president's like, I think there's something blocking this, like blocking the door." He's like, "Oh yeah, there's debris. It's gonna take some bit to get you out of there." And it's a filing cabinet. They literally move a filing cabinet away from the door. It's like, okay, that was it. It's like they were like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna take some time to get you out of here." All right, let's just move this.
And they're playing coy with the president, right? They're like, "Oh, put your guns away. You're there to kill her. There's no one else around, as far as you know. Why do you have to play dumb with her?"
It's a bunch of very stupid decisions that happen throughout this whole movie. They could have just opened that door and pop and then walked out.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what you do.
Well, you got to make it look like an accident.
Yeah.
All right. I guess if you put a bullet hole in the president's head,
Right. She
They're
fell on a gun in the earthquake.
Ah,
no, it's
so many guns around the White House.
conspiracy theories.
The suicide pact with the vice president, like in the mist. The mist. She's like, "Oh, well, there's no getting out of this one."
I can imagine them sitting in the Oval Office one day, like, "Hey, listen, if we're ever trapped in debris because of an earthquake, I'll kill you first, and then I'll kill myself." So that's the pact.
Yeah. This one was tough to get through, and it didn't help that there was commercials.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough. And you have generic white guy as your hero.
Yeah. I meant to look up this generic white dude.
He-
I love
he
this
kinda-
fact. Yeah.
I'm sorry. He kind of looks like Johnny Manziel.
A little bit.
Like Johnny Manziel had a hard time cutting it in the NFL, and then went to do Tubi originals.
Yeah.
He was in Pam and Tommy though, one episode. So maybe he's probably like a background or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for some reason I thought the doctor was going to be the main character, not Lance. So I thought Catherine, the fiance, like, oh, because she's the first person we meet, and she has the idea of lubricating the White House.
Yeah. This guy is he is an Asylum All-Star.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Ape versus Mecha Ape, Ice Storm 20.0, Mega Quake, Super Volcano, Attack on Titan.
He plays the same character in 3 of them, I think.
Jurassic Domination, War of the Worlds Annihilation he was in.
Oh, so he's a returner.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like Super Volcano, 20.0, Mega Quake, and Ice Storm. He plays Sven.
Sven. Interesting. And you were touching on the laziness of this movie. One of the parts that I remember vividly in terms of laziness is when the militia turns on the Secret Service agent, Agent Diaz, and they shoot him in the leg.
Yeah.
And it looks like a mild inconvenience to the agent.
Yeah.
He just kind of rolls his eyes like, "Oh boy, I'm gonna feel that in the morning."
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, there's a bunch of that in this movie. Like when you mentioned Lance and his coworker, was it Emily? When they're in that little corridor that looks like the descent, and her leg gets crushed by quote unquote debris, and stone, not styrofoam. It just looks like a mild inconvenience. She's like, "Oh, I think I broke my leg."
And then there's this whole thing about like the monitor that she's carrying
that never comes into play.
She's like, can you pull yourself out? It's like, "Oh, I can't with this thing in my hand." He's like, "All right, we'll put it down." It's like, "Okay." Then she's like, "Oh no, the monitor." It's like, "Oh, I'll come back for it." It's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
They probably had it in the script that was going to play a pivotal role in something, and they just forgot to keep it in the script.
Yeah,
like, we'll come back to it.
This movie is too stupid for there not to have been something else, right? Yeah. There's just there's so many little pieces that go nowhere that I'm going to give this movie the benefit of the doubt and say it had to have been cut out, like an additional part of the plot that this earthquake is essentially man-made, right?
Yeah, that has to be.
Yeah.
Like if I was writing it, that's how I would do it. If this whole thing crux relies on Eric Roberts trying to become president, then it has to be more than him just hoping an earthquake eventually hits Washington D.C. There has to be.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff in the underneath where they're saying, "Oh, I can't see what's up ahead. It's weird that my light isn't going past that." And then the monitor is like, "Oh, well, I gotta check the monitor." It's like all this nonsense that is called out in script and in dialogue that goes absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Has to have gone somewhere at some point.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is all the set we could build, so this light can't reach past this point.
Yeah.
That drove me nuts when they were in the hallway and they kept shining the light directly in the camera.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, God, is no one giving them direction? Don't shine it in the camera, directly in the audience's face.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
they're
know,
just
man.
like, and they're just kind of writhing around on the ground, trying to make it seem like that it's so hard to traverse. But it's like it's standing room.
Yeah, you can clearly you could do both of them side by side. Could have fit in this little hallway.
Yep.
And yeah, they're making it out to be the tightest crawl space you could imagine. I don't know. It is too stupid to really get this upset about.
Yeah.
But I don't know how else to describe it. It's a lot of people sleepwalking their way through a movie. I needed more from Eric Roberts. We only get a handful of scenes with him, and he's not even like Mark. You were saying, you wanted something. You wanted a little more out of him as well, because you don't get the feeling that he's evil outside of the words he's speaking.
Yeah, you all it was missing for me is when he's having that conversation with the guy when he's telling him to get rid of the two people.
Right.
So they can get in just his speech, just giving his reasons for wanting to do this.
Yeah.
Like I've worked at this for 5 years, just something.
Right.
So that goddamn bitch, something like that. Something like gets vendetta against her or, something,
The real world has written the script for them here, where you could have Eric Roberts as a disgruntled congressman, speaker. I think he's the speaker, right?
Yes, because speaker's third in line. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a disgruntled politician. He's tired. He thinks that these two women are ruining the country with their woke ideals, let's say.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah. They just go on Twitter. Go on Twitter and you could have written a better script with that.
Yeah.
So, DC Down 2023 is directed by Jeff Mead, who was an actor in this film and an actor by trade, but he has directed The Amityville Haunting, Asteroidageddon, as well as Four Horsemen: Apocalypse. He's also the biker dad from the end of Little Miss Sunshine. That's where I know him from.
Cool.
Stars Jack Pearson, Sean Young, Kayla Fields, Terry Woodbury, Eric Roberts, Jeff Mead, Jesse Taya, and Andrew Rogers. IMDb score of 4.7 and not a single rating, audience or critic, on Rotten Tomatoes.
We're the first guys. We should put it in there.
We may be the first people that have ever watched this film. I haven't checked Letterboxd, but I'm sure there's something on Letterboxd.
We're breaking
and I don't have budget or box office for this because it's a Tubi original, so there would be no box office. You guys want to get the plot?
Yeah, let's do it.
Real
All right.
quick, before I do my little rundown. Did it bother anyone else that they didn't have the periods in between D and C?
No.
No.
Oh, it annoyed me so much.
I didn't think about it until now, to be honest.
Yeah, because that DC is that it's not done correctly. It just annoyed me. It's another nitpick, but just another thing this movie got wrong.
It's true. All right, what do you got for us, Dan?
All right, guys. Enough clowning around. Just want you to go follow, subscribe, listen to two very good friends of the podcast. Of course, I'm talking about the Game Vault podcast with our very own Mark. It is a bi-weekly podcast where Mark and our friends, Jen and Tom, run down video game news, games that they're playing, and their Retro Roulette Game of the Week, which is an old school game. So if that's something that you might enjoy, please go follow them on all socials at Game Vault Pod, and please subscribe to them, rate and review. They could definitely use all the help. And also, please go follow the Top 10 with Tia. She's a good friend of ours. We have had her on the podcast plenty of times. Go to geekvibesnation.com, search Top 10 with Tia, and should pop right up.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
and Padawan J.
from the ODPH podcast. Each week, we talk a parlay of topics.
That's right. Whether it's sports, pro wrestling, movies, TV, comics, and more, we've got a take on it.
And don't forget, odphpodcast.com for links for Patreon, TeePublic, and the Parlay Points blogs, and much more.
Thanks for listening to the ODPH podcast. Now back to your regularly scheduled show.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. It involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked her ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell him.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get through the plot for DC Down. We open on the White House as Madam President, played by Sean Young, is being briefed on a whole bunch of potential threats, specifically something involving Russia. We then cut to a geology lab where one of the lab techs notices a spike in seismic activity. One of them tells the others to keep an eye on it while she goes to meet with Lance and give him the quote-unquote best news of his life.
I cannot imagine that any large-scale geology lab is that tightly packed.
You're going to say that most of them have more than 3 people working there?
And the fact that they would have to shimmy sideways to get past anybody in there.
It reminded me of the control center in Abraxas. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
There's just this little room with 2 people standing side by side.
Or the spaceship in Kra, the sea monster.
Oh my god, I remember, that's an old one.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah. Go back and listen to that one, friends.
Yeah, it really felt like they did 2 sets, and this was half of it.
Mm-hmm.
They just did half here, and then the other half was some other location.
The other half was the corridor. That Lance and Emily are trying to squeeze through.
Yeah.
That's why they couldn't shine the light too far. You would see the computers.
Yeah. I think 80% of this movie was shot in Asylum's offices. And this was probably the janitor's closet.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say it here just because we're on the subject of this, even though it comes later. The Camp David in this just looks like Dr. Beck's office from any of the Stalked by My Doctor movies.
It's someone's house, right? It's someone's living room or something.
There's a moment at the end of this movie when the militia are walking through the undergrounds of the White House and they walk into that control room.
Yeah.
That looks very much like this seismic lab.
It's just like that shot from the side.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, is the lab there the whole time? It was I don't know.
That's the kicker. The lab was in the White House the entire time.
I don't know what that twist would mean, but it was significant.
Right, nothing. It would have meant nothing, but it would have meant something to us, I guess.
Yep. It would have meant anything. Anything, this movie.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a news report comes on to talk about the new White House renovations, when all of a sudden an earthquake hits, causing a whole bunch of damage in D.C. and especially the White House. Looks like the president may have been caught under a collapsing roof along with the vice president.
I love the slow crack that's forming in the Washington Monument throughout this movie.
And nothing happens to it.
No.
Or you keep thinking, well, it's got to fall over. Everything else is falling over. Nope, it's fine. A huge crack up the center. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This movie's fucking stupid. Out in the streets, Lance and Catherine are okay, but Lance winds up having to save a woman that is wandering the streets after the earthquake. Obviously, a concussion is a probable diagnosis, and she almost gets hit by a car.
Oh, God, the car. I forgot. The guy has all day to slow down, and he just keeps going.
Just honks the horn.
No, you have to yield to pedestrians, man.
That's what the brakes are for.
I know people in that area suck at driving, but my goodness.
Meanwhile, Secretary Harris calls on a walkie-talkie for CogCon 1, whatever that is. I thought he was going to be the villain in this. But the speaker of the
Harris?
Yeah.
Okay. That could have been cool.
Yeah. like when he calls for that CogCon, whatever. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be DEFCON. They didn't get the rights to say DEFCON, I suppose. I thought that was like he was like, calling in the the special forces to do what he's planning. But nope. The Speaker of the House instead, Eric Roberts, shows up and says that they need to act fast and they need to enact the 25th Amendment immediately, as the president and vice president may have died in the White House collapse, and he heads off to Camp David.
It does not sound evil at all.
Nope.
Well, now that I think about it, Ant, how great could it have been if General Harris had set up, because he's this Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
Right. So what if he was the one who set up the almost like a Ocean's 12 scenario where they have that machine that simulates the earthquake? You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So what if he had something along those lines, like he's working with the militia or whoever to simulate the earthquake, and then he also gets Eric Roberts and he like kidnaps Eric Roberts because he can't find he figures the president and the vice president are dead. So now he's got the speaker. So now he's holding the speaker hostage or something.
What if there were two separate plans, one going on by Eric Roberts and one going on by the Secretary of Defense, and Secretary of Defense's plan was to kill Eric Roberts so he could become president?
That'd be great.
Sort of like a really large scale version of the opening scene of The Dark Knight. One person kills the other person, the other person kills the other person. This one is just Speaker of the House, Secretary of Defense killing people.
And every time they think they have a chance, like Harris has a chance to kill Roberts, there's someone else there.
Mm-hmm.
So he just never gets the chance to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I think that's a good idea. And it's like a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
And then we could get rid of Lance because he sucks.
Yep. Speaking of Lance, as Lance and Catherine walk in the park, he gets called in by Secretary Harris, who tells him he needs him to come to the White House. Eric Roberts comes onto the news and informs the American people of the collapse of the White House. Lance and Catherine show up at the White House, and Secretary Harris tells them about the missing president and vice president. Catherine tells Harris the circumstances of the earthquake leads her to believe that they will experience intense aftershocks. Secretary Harris goes over to the speaker to give him the credentials of Lance and Catherine. Meanwhile, Catherine starts doing experiments with equipment she just so happened to have in her purse. Lance starts to suit up for a rescue mission. Catherine brings information about the impending aftershocks, which could be devastating, but she comes with a solution about drilling to release the pressure underground.
My favorite thing going back real fast is when he was like, I got clothes in the car, I'll be right back. And he basically just goes and puts a t-shirt on. Like no kind of camo or anything special. Just basically takes his suit off and puts a t-shirt on.
Yeah. Luckily, Lance happens to know people with big drills, so he gives them a call and puts into motion a plan to drill. Rescue efforts continue as people start to get wheeled out of rubble. Meanwhile, Madam President and Rachel are alive, beat up pretty bad, dealing with potential concussions. So the president starts banging her shoe against the floor in hopes that the rescue people will hear her. And rest assured, Lance Cushing hears it, so he starts to climb down in the collapsed part of the White House to investigate. Then gets out immediately. And a lot of this movie is just Lance getting into a hole and then getting out of a hole.
Going underground somewhere and then leaving.
Yeah. He gets out and briefs the team on what he saw, saying it seemed pretty stable down there. Secretary goes off to talk with the press, and Lance finds out that they have fewer drills than he had hoped. Just lots of drill talk in this part of the movie.
Is that when some of the other drills are on another job?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Get them here. This is way more important than whatever the other job is.
And also, who gives a shit in the idea of this movie? Like, you're writing a movie,
right?
Who cares?
Yeah,
like leave that part out.
Yeah, we
could only. Yeah, It's like, I got these two places bringing 15 drills. Okay,
that's enough.
Like 3 minutes later, we only got 9 drills. Okay, just cut out
say
the part
9.
where you had. Just say 9. Just say you had 9.
He's like super apologetic about it. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. All right. Well, it's not your fault.
And this was even another point where you could have made Eric Roberts' character evil if found out that he diverted those things away.
Oh yeah.
It's so conniving.
Yeah. Like he's thought of every, because he's privy to all the emergency plans.
Yeah.
So right? we want Eric Roberts to be the Joker, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is interesting because isn't he killed by the Joker?
Yeah, or I think he's definitely in. He's definitely in the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
I don't remember what his fate is.
I think he dies in the warehouse where the Joker sets the money on fire.
Oh, that's right.
They never show it.
No, because he asks, "Where's the Italian?" No, he's killed by Two-Face.
Oh yes, in the car. In the car. Yes, yeah, the car accident.
Because he flips the coin for the driver and shoots him in the back of the head.
Right. Yeah.
Because Eric Roberts isn't there with the money. Because at the end of that scene, the Joker says, "Where's the Italian?" And he's talking about Eric Roberts.
Yeah. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, Barbie just passed The Dark Knight as the highest-grossing film in WB history.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah. There you go.
Now get ready.
Deal with it, film bros.
Well, I was gonna say, get ready for a slew of Mattel type movies now.
Can't wait for the Magic 8 Ball movie.
Oh, I've written that. It's on themaindamie.com. Look it up.
We've thought of everything.
Mm-hmm. I got Magic 8 Ball, Stretch Armstrong. Actually, a Barbie movie too, which I think would have been better, but that's just me.
I'm very excited for now. All these other companies are going to start buying up toy lines. We're going to get like a Hungry Hippo game, Shoots and Ladders.
Starring the Rock.
Oh,
and real hippos.
And real, right? Because he'll break out his jungle fatigues,
his khakis.
One more. I could picture the scene in my head where he gets the call to be in the Hungry Hippos movie, and he just goes to his wardrobe and he pulls out the jungle fatigues and khakis. One more time, old friend.
One more time into the fray. Back at the seismic lab, the lab techs realize that because of the earthquake, the drills are too heavy to go over the bridge without it collapsing. Then right on cue, the bridge collapses and they lose 3 drills in the process.
For no reason.
It's so stupid. Just say you have 6. There's no reason.
Again, Eric Roberts could have sabotaged the bridge.
Blown the bridge.
Like, there's so many moments where you could have just made him more evil.
But apparently he doesn't need to be that evil. Just things fall into place for him.
Mother Nature's doing the heavy lifting for him. And also, again, the next scene is Lance on the phone getting the news that they lost 3 of the drills. And it looks like someone told him that they got his order wrong at like McDonald's or something. It's like, oh, all right, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's like people died.
and a fucking bridge collapse.
You could tell that he was supposed to be more emotional about it just from her line. When it comes back, she's like, I know how it gets to you when your brothers die or whatever she says. And it's like, this man just looks like he's slightly uncomfortable, not upset.
Yeah, it's because he can't act, Mark.
That's true.
I think that's what the problem is.
So Lance goes back into the rubble to clear a path underneath for the survivors using a ramjack. Meanwhile, we get some stock footage of first responders in action. And then we see some dudes that look like a militia file out. We don't know who they are yet.
No,
Meanwhile,
they don't even introduce themselves.
Nope. Meanwhile, at Camp David, Eric Roberts is sworn in as president and he goes off to social media and immediately starts recording a video as he addresses the American people. It's so casual. It's like he's shooting a cameo.
Yeah, he just shitting it's out for America, and I hear it's your birthday.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
But then an aide comes in to tell him that a terrorist organization has begun operations according to the FBI and that there have been widespread violence and looting. That terrorist organization never appears in this movie.
And we don't really see any rioting or looting.
Nope.
I guess they couldn't afford the stock footage.
Nope. You know what we do get to see, though? The militia group stuck in traffic.
Yeah. They just didn't have Jason Aldean's licensing team to get some stock footage for this movie.
The best part about the militia is it's like these guys got to live out their fantasy of taking on the government.
Yeah.
These weekend warrior types.
Yeah, and I love how there's basically still only one Secret Service agent left.
So in my notes, I had written there are 5 to 10 people at any given time around the White House when there would be hundreds of people, rescue crews, newscasters, just people being around. Like it would be the top story in the world. But in this movie, there's 5 people.
Yeah. Imagine that conversation about the drills. Like, oh, sorry, they're on another job. When it's the president
exactly
at stake, right?
Can't call him back.
Yeah.
There needed to be a scene where either Lance or General Harris is like gets on the phone and it's like, I don't give a good goddamn where they are. I need them in DC now.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what would happen. All available resources would be funneled into this situation.
Yeah, the conversation would be like, oh, where are those drills? Oh, Nevada? Go to the nearest Air Force base. We're going to bring a fucking cargo jet, pick that shit up and bring it over.
Right. We'll have them here in like 7 hours.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's just, again, even going back to Neil Breen, he can pretend to have a crowd in an area better than these guys could.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lance and another first responder are down in the wreckage when they come across a weird part where the readings are strange and they can't see past with their lights. Thought this was going to play a role in the movie. It does not. And they act like it's super tight tunnel when it looks like it's just a narrow hallway that they're crawling through. Back to the seismology lab, I guess they realize the aftershocks are going to happen now or 3 hours from now, but they call Catherine as the aftershocks immediately hit. I love the scenes from the seismology lab where they announce the thing that is going to happen in 5 seconds. It happens twice.
All this stuff.
It happens twice. It's the bridge, right? The bridge collapsing, they announce it right before, and then this happens again.
It's almost like they will it into existence.
Or like they realize they needed to explain things
right
like after the fact. Like, all right, well, we'll have the lab say something like this.
Yeah, because that's probably right, Ant. Right? They basically filmed the CGI for these things first, and then worked their way backwards. Oh, we need to explain why they're doing this.
Yeah, why that bridge collapse? We don't even mention it. All right, let's get this scene of the seismology nerds.
and I was curious as to why they needed to collapse the bridge anyway, because that's just another disaster that doesn't come into play after that.
No,
right?
This is really such a small story.
It is.
It's
right.
really just trying to get the president out of the rubble.
That's what it should have been, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Right. You have the big earthquake that hits, and now you're trying to rescue the president.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that like Earthquake essentially? The movie Earthquake is they're not trying to save the president, but they're just trying to help people out of a building that's collapsed.
I don't know if I've ever seen Earthquake. I've seen Volcano.
Oh, Volcano. That's even better. That's
those people trapped down in the subway.
Right. And there's other things going on, but again, it's a very contained story.
Right. Yeah. They should have just ripped off Volcano.
Yeah.
Or Daylight. What if they get trapped in the subway and they need Sylvester Stallone to get them out?
That'd be good. Yeah, that works. Yeah. Why not? The very first shot of this movie, isn't it lava? Wait, like it's the beneath the mantle. Like they just kind of go, they pan up. So you would be...
I believe it's called magma in that case.
Oh, that's a good point. Right, it's lava once it reaches the surface. Hey, listen, you got me. But yeah, so if you saw the magma, you would be thinking what you were thinking, right, Ant? Like, like an earthquake's gonna hit and like a volcano's gonna happen or something. Like all the bad things are gonna happen, essentially. But no, just an earthquake.
Yep. And also this whole conversation about, again, like when is these aftershocks gonna happen? Could be 12 hours from now, could be 3 hours from now. Again, information don't need for this movie.
Yeah. You could have just pinpointed it.
You've just been like, we don't know.
Yeah.
I'm without my tools. I can't make that call. I left it back in the office, which I would do if I went to go lunch to tell my boyfriend that I'm having his out of wedlock baby.
His helicopter baby.
Yeah. This is the reason why all this happened. God was mad.
Well, you have the bastard child and the two women in power.
Yep.
So God was like, enough of that shit.
Yeah.
we're gonna solve one of these problems today.
The aftershocks cause more damage in DC as buildings are just collapsing like houses of cards. Catherine runs around like a crazy person trying to get to Lance, but she's stopped by some dude. Down in the hole, Lance's partner gets stuck under a collapsing wall and breaks her leg. He uses the jack to help her out, but she keeps worrying about the TBD, which is some sort of monitor that she's using. Again, another thing that just doesn't matter. I was writing these notes as if these things were going to come up, thinking, oh, I got to write this down because it's going to come up later. This is a movie full of Chekhov's guns that never fire. After he gets... again.
I was going to say, it looks like a EKG meter that she has.
PKE
right?
meter?
Oh, so I wish we could have gotten a little bit more from that thing, just in general. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna say, there has to be a thread that was completely cut out. There has to be.
Right. That had to have come into play when they were trying to figure out when the next wave was going to hit or the next quake, right?
It just has to all lead back to this being man-made.
Yeah.
Because all of this is happenstance. This movie would make so much more sense if this is a man-made situation. I don't know how you man-make an earthquake. That's not my job. But there's so many things that lead to this being man-made and then finding out of that's the situation. None of that happens. There's all these little threads that seem like it's going to lead to it, but never do. And this is one of those moments.
You could have had Eric Roberts' character. He could have been like Gruber in Die Hard with a Vengeance, kind of pulling the strings to what's going on when they break into the reserve in New York, right? So you could have had him doing stuff like that, like him playing both sides, where he's feigning what's the interest in what's best for America and all that, right? He's pretending while also leading this militia and whoever else into creating all of these things happening.
Mm-hmm. And after Lance gets his partner out, he helps her out of the hole to treat a broken leg. Once again, Lance going in and out of holes. Lance talks with Catherine, and she says that she doesn't know how much time for the next aftershock because she did not trust the algorithm. Again, okay, fine. Just have it be that. Explosions then start happening because some gas lines exploding or something. Meanwhile, Madam President tries to keep Rachel awake, but then she starts having seizures. Same time, acting President Eric Roberts calls Secretary Harris to tell him that the terrorist group is making some moves. Again, doesn't matter.
We never see the terrorist group.
Nope, never does anything. And Eric Roberts suggests using a militia to help with security in the city to help stop the terrorist group so they don't have to declare martial law. It's really the only reason why the terrorist group comes up.
Oh, you know what you could have done? I'm making another Die Hard reference. You could have done what they did in Die Hard 2, right? Where you have the terrorists and the counter-terrorists. They're on the same team.
Oh, yeah.
So you have this terrorist group that is causing chaos in the DC area. They're like, oh, we need to activate this militia, and only you could do it, or you have to give me the authority to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, Harris gives him the authority to do it, combining the forces. Now shit's really gonna hit the fan.
Yeah. Eventually, the secretary relents. Lance finds a way into the White House and tells Secretary Harris. Harris tells Lance that they have a militia coming. Lance voices concerns, but the secretary mentions that the president ordered it, and then the militia show up. Secretary gives them orders. Some of them will help with security, while a smaller group will help with digging out a path to the White House. And then Rachel dies. Vice President is now dead. Lance shows the military guys the part of the wall, the militia guys the part of the wall where he wants them to break down. So they hammer at it with some sledgehammers. Eventually, we break through the wall enough to talk to the president. She says the vice president is dead. They tell her that they're going to clear out some debris to get to her. And the main militia guy, Beck, talks with Eric Roberts, and it sounds like the plan is to kill the president to make Eric Roberts president.
Oh,
good.
Sorry, real quick. When Eric Roberts finds out that the vice president is killed in the earthquake, it's like he's shocked by it.
Right.
Like, why would you be surprised? That's kind of what you were hoping for,
Yeah. Right.
isn't it? Right? Like,
Yeah.
I think the surprise is supposed to be he's glad he doesn't have to figure a way to cover it up.
I
Right.
could be.
That
Yeah.
it just happened. He was just like, oh, the earthquake? Oh, well, we don't have to worry
okay.
about that now.
So more of just like, oh, thank goodness we don't.
Well,
have
he
to worry
basically
about
he
that.
basically says that at the end, right?
Oh
So,
yeah, because I only have to fake one death.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Because like the way he reacted in my mind, I'm like, well, that's what you wanted. Why would you be so surprised?
It is weird he's acting with surprise in a situation that it was a likely possibility, right?
Yeah, yeah. It'd be different if like she died, like drowning.
Right.
Like,
There's
oh,
a
that's
non-zero
weird.
chance that one of them was going to be dead.
Yes.
And he's acting like that was complete crazy that it happened.
It would have been better if he was confused that she was alive. If she wound up being alive, like, oh my god, they're both alive?
Right. Then another aftershock hits and the president goes tumbling down further into the rubble. Lance and Catherine talk about the impending aftershocks and they mention something about lubrication theory. And then Lance mentions they should go use the subway system to blow a hole into a ventilation system and use the Potomac River to stabilize DC. I don't know what any of this means. The president sets off the fire alarm and Secret Service agent identifies it as somewhere on the ground floor. The militia starts throwing their weight around trying to enact their plan to get to the president. When the secretary disagrees, the militia calls up Eric Roberts and he gives them the permission to do their plan. And also sends Cushing to plant the charges to blow the wall of the subway himself to get him out of the hair of the militia. I also like he's just explicitly telling them what to do over a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Anyone could be listening in on that.
Everybody should be able to hear them.
Yeah,
what he's saying.
I thought the same thing. He doesn't have a burner phone or something.
Yeah, and to bring down the Secret Service agent Diaz down with the militia. Catherine and Lance hook up with the military and they bring him to the place to set the charges. Lance goes down himself. Meanwhile, down in the evacuation corridor at the White House, the militia turns on Diaz, so they take him hostage as they set out further in order to try and execute the president. Meanwhile, Catherine gets a call from her seismic lab team, and they mention that the water is going to move fast and they need to stay clear. While Beck and other militia guys make it to some sort of underground room, Diaz manages to knock out his captor, but can't get a call out to the secretary.
Real quick.
Yep.
In probably a major, like a blockbuster movie, like a more mainstream one, Diaz probably dies, right? Because he gives up the information real quick, like how to get to where they need to go. That I don't think that's usually how it works. Like the Secret Service agents are I'm imagining, tougher to crack than that.
Right. Yeah. He dies without giving the information. And it's
That's
just
what I'm
it's a hallway. There's
Right,
only
just
one way to go.
And, the best is Diaz gives Beck the information, and then a few scenes later, he goes through the information again with Lance. We get to hear the info twice.
Yeah.
Well, it's just in case if you missed it, Dan.
It was just that's not how you do it.
After another aftershock happens, Catherine runs to make sure Lance is okay, and he is. Diaz guy manages to get a call out to the secretary to tell him that the militia dudes are no good. So then the secretary karate chops one of them.
Because of course he can.
But then the charges blow and it floods the subway and it works. Lance and Catherine make it back to the White House. Secretary Harris tells Lance that the militia has gone rogue. So Lance goes into the tunnels and meets up with Diaz. Meanwhile, Beck makes it to the president and confirms that the vice president has died in the earthquake. So he calls Eric Roberts to tell him the news, and he says he'll make the president's death look like an accident. But Lance is there and shoots one of the guys and takes out Beck and holds him at gunpoint. And it turns out the plan worked with the water filling the subway. So, yay. So the president comes out to the news and addresses the American people against a terrible backdrop. The secretary plans to arrest Eric Roberts, and Catherine tells Lance she's pregnant and go get some coffee to talk about it.
That was like there was no hint at that at any point in the, like there wasn't even like before the earthquake happened. She's like in the middle about to tell him, and the earthquake happened.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Like,
that's why they were going to get coffee. That's why they're going to get coffee to give him the best news of his life.
Yeah.
Also, I'd imagine after a massive earthquake hits DC, I have a feeling that not many shops are going to be open.
Well,
yeah, they all would have been looted, right?
That's true. Yeah, they're walking into a looting scenario.
Yeah. Anyway, that is the end of DC Down. Truly a slog.
Yeah.
We say that a lot. This one redefines it.
Yeah, and I also love that whole theory she has with the water only stops the earthquake from really hitting around the White House, which means the rest of DC is still getting hit with something.
But Mark, they saved the day.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Don't ask any questions. Don't look too far into it. They saved the day.
Don't remember what she told us about 10 minutes ago?
Right, yeah. Don't pay no attention to that. Doesn't matter. They saved the day.
All right. That's DC down. We've got one more. And we got one more segment left. But
I thought you said we had another one of these movies to go over.
No. God, no. We got one more segment left. But before we... Go ahead, Mark.
I say, yeah, our next movie, Ottawa Down.
Ottawa Down, yeah. Well, that's where it's filmed.
Anyway, we've got one more segment left. But before that, you guys are going to listen to some ads so we pay those bills. And we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time to get into a third segment. And this one is a trivia. We got 10 questions based around the Asylum films.
Oh, wow.
So, got 10 questions, and we can do a first person to buzz in.
I forgot my buzzer.
Question. Yeah, well, make do. Give me a little buzz.
All right.
Buzz.
There you go. You know what? Buzz in with your favorite quote from this film.
Oh, God.
Sure.
I like it.
Okay. Okay, first question. Which is the real mockbuster of Cocaine Bear? Is it Meth Gator, Speed Shark, or Crocodile?
I think I broke my tibia.
All right, Dan.
The second one.
Speed Shark?
Yes.
It's incorrect. Mark,
Oi.
you have a guess?
Oi. That's not from the movie, Mark.
That's not from the movie. We get it. You went to London. All right, what do you got?
The crack one.
It's not. I wish it was, because Crocodile is one that I completely came up with on my own. It is Meth Gator.
Meth Gator doesn't sound fun.
It doesn't.
Crocodile, though.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
That you want Crocodile at a party.
Yeah. I was very proud of myself when I came up with that one.
That's good.
Okay. Similar question. Which is real? Shark Side of the Moon, Shark of Darkness, or Zero Shark 30?
I think I broke my tibia.
Dan.
Zero Shark 30.
It is not Zero Shark 30. It's another one I was very proud of coming up with.
That'd be great too. I'd watch that.
What was the first choice again? That was the only one I sort of missed.
Shark Side of the Moon or Shark of Darkness?
Ooh, I guess I don't have to buzz in. Shark of Darkness.
It is Shark Side of the Moon.
Jesus.
Oh, man, these are really good.
I thought that was a little too long to be a Asylum title.
Nope.
Don't underestimate Asylum.
All right. Next one. In the Blank-Headed Shark Attack series, what is the most amount of heads?
Oh, jeez. All right. I think I broke my tibia.
Sure.
8.
It's not 8.
Okay.
10.
It is not 10. I'm going to deduct points for you.
Extra points off.
Minus 2 points for not picking your favorite quote from this movie. The answer is 6. Most movies, 6-headed shark attack.
Okay. Reasonable. That's a reasonable amount of heads.
Imagine the CGI artist that had to do that. How am I going to fit 6 heads on this shark?
You're asking for too much, sir.
It's too much.
Just get it done. More heads. There's room over there for a head.
Next question. What was the name of the mockbuster parodying Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Wait, they mocked Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is a mock already?
They did. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Joke on top of a joke. Always goes well.
Super meta. Oh boy.
No choices or gotta...
Nope.
I think I broke my tibia.
Dan.
All right. So I'm keeping Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Abraham Lincoln Zombie Hunter.
That's right.
Oh wow.
Abraham Lincoln Zombie Hunter.
Yeah, if that wasn't right, Dan, I was gonna go with werewolves.
Those are the big 3, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, Dan's on the board. Next question. Asylum released its first mockbuster in 2005, capitalizing on what adaptation of a classic sci-fi film?
2005 classics. So, all right. Obviously, it came out well before that.
That's a classic sci-fi story.
Okay. I'm gonna assume.
Are you buzzing in?
Oh, I gotta buzz in. I think I broke my tibia. All right. So, are we naming the movie or what it was after?
What it was after.
I'm gonna say War of the Worlds.
That is correct. And the mockbuster was actually just H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds.
Oh, okay. So they didn't go with the silly title.
Nope.
They didn't have that yet. The brand was not strong.
They were actually trying here.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Mega Shark has versed all but which of the following? Giant octopus, Crocosaurus, Mecha Shark, Colossus, or Gatoroid?
Gatoroid? Oh, that's awesome. Mark, do you want to try first? Do you want to go for it?
I think I broke my tibia.
Ow.
Mark's breaking all the rules tonight. All right, Mark, what do you got?
Gatoroid.
Gatoroid is correct. Mega Python fought Gatoroid.
Oh, of course. That classic.
I recognized two of the four, and I was deciding between the second one and the fourth one being wrong, and I got it correct.
There you go.
That's how these games work. All right. The 2012 mockbuster film Clash of the Empires had to change its name from its original title due to copyright issues with this mythical creature.
What was the name of the movie again?
It was called Clash of the Empires.
Clash of the Empires. And it had to change the name because of a...
So this was the title that it changed its name to.
Oh,
it was originally titled something else, but it had to change its name from its original title due to copyright issues with this mythical creature.
Gotcha. Okay. Oof. I'm thinking like Greek, right? Like mythical creature. I'll say. All right. I think I broke my tibia.
Sure.
All right. I'm gonna say classic mythical creature. I'm gonna say the Kraken
is incorrect. Mark, do you have a guess?
I was the only thing in my head was I didn't. Kraken's really good. Let's go. No, I don't. I was going to say a griffin, but that's not fun enough. No, I don't have a guess.
The answer is Hobbit.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh man, we were way off.
Yeah,
going in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
Why would? Okay, I want to put the name of the actual movie is what threw us off.
Right, it does sound like Clash of the Titans. It would be or something.
Yeah. That's immediately what my head went to.
Yep. No, it was a mockbuster of The Hobbit.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember what the original title was though. All right, To this day, what is the only TV series the Asylum has produced, running for 5 seasons on Sci-Fi Channel from 2014 to 2018, totaling 68 episodes?
Wow, I think I know this, but I don't know the exact name of it. Shit. It's something with zombies. I remember that. I think I broke my tibia.
Sure, Dan.
Is it Walking Z or something like that?
It is not Walking Z. Mark.
I don't know. I'm thinking zombies too. The Outbreak. I don't know.
It was incorrect. You guys were on the right track. It was Z Nation.
Z Nation.
I remembered something with Z in it. I figured they were going to just rip off of The Walking Dead. So
yeah, I think it was like World War Z as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, 2 more. How many Sharknado movies did they make?
I think I broke my tibia.
Dan.
5.
It's not 5.
Yeah, I'll just take a guess. I was actually trying to think of a line from the movie The Ring in 6.
That's right.
Yeah, nice.
6. You guys are all tied up.
Yeah, I was like, what I knew, but I just couldn't think of a line from the movie The Ring in.
All tied up with 1 question left.
Oh my God.
All right. In 2022, Asylum released its first theatrical feature. So a movie that actually saw a theatrical release. which was a mockbuster of this mega hit sequel.
So it got released in 2022.
That's correct.
The movie got released in 2022. All right.
The Asylum movie got released in.
All right. Oh, okay. Based off of a movie.
It's a mockbuster of this. A mockbuster of this mega hit sequel.
Got you. Okay. Sequel. Man, I don't know. Mark, do you have a guess?
Yeah, I have a thought of what maybe what series it is, but I can't think what the Asylum movie would be. For some reason, one of the first things that popped in my head was Aliens. That it was a mock blockbuster of that, but I can't think of what the Asylum movie name would be. But I'm probably completely wrong.
So Aliens is your guess?
Yeah.
This is not.
Okay.
The answer is Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, wow. I never in a million years would have guessed that. My guess would have been like the Avengers or something.
I thought the mega hit sequel would have gotten you guys. So we end on a tie, which just basically means it was all pointless.
Yeah.
But we had fun.
Just like this movie.
I liked hearing Dan say, I think I broke my tibia 7 or 8 times.
I enjoyed saying it, so.
Yeah. I can't wait till the WGA strike is over so I can write Crocodile.
Yeah.
Because that fucking title is gold.
Yeah, it practically writes itself.
And after seeing this movie, we could just get just about anything put on Tubi.
Yeah. Zero Shark 30 is also very good.
Yeah.
That would be tougher to do, but I'm curious how to do it.
Yeah. So that is our game. That is our episode. Do not watch DC Down. Watch DC Cab though. Watch DC Cab. That's the best advice I could give you for this episode.
DC Cab is already way better because they have the periods in between D and C. They've already gotten it.
And it's directed by Joel Schumacher.
Get out of here.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it is. Wow. The late great Joel Schumacher.
Mm-hmm. It's got Mr. T, Adam Baldwin, not related to all the other Baldwins. Gary Busey, Bill Maher.
Bill Maher's in it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a great cast. That's DC Cab. Maybe one. Oh, the Barbarian Brothers. Forgot about those guys.
Are they in this movie?
They're in DC Cab.
Oh shit, that's awesome. It just jumped up like 5 notches.
But we should cover that one day.
Yeah.
But besides that, check us out on all our socials. TikTam Pod on Threads, X, whatever you want to call it. I love that X. I get emails from X and it just says formerly known as Twitter. Like you could have just been Twitter.
Yeah. It's absurd.
So I wonder, could someone else just take Twitter, the name Twitter now? It's not being used.
I'm surprised Zuckerberg hasn't taken it.
Right? That'd be great. Like, yeah, we're changing the name of Threads to Twitter.
There's got to be some paperwork somewhere where it's like they still have copyright over Twitter for X amount of years.
Yeah, I'm sure. But we're on those where, I don't know, maybe we're going to be on Blue Sky by the time you listen to this. I don't fucking know. I hate it. I say it every week. I hate it so much.
You see the lasting effects this man has had on us.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
They called us a movie on TikTok. Check us out there. If you have 5 seconds, a minute, you want to give us a 5-star review, that helps out a great deal on any of your podcatchers of choice. And we will be back next week with our August movie of the month. I didn't mention it this front, but if there's still time, check it out on Twitter or X. We're running a poll there to find out what our August movie of the month is. And this month is Fun in the Sun, which we're probably just going to wind up watching 3 Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain. So if you're listening to this and there's still time, go on there, vote. But that seems to be the way the winds are blowing for that one. But check us out next week while we cover that movie. And that's about it. We're going to get out of here. The director of DC Down is Jeff Mead. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Devecchio telling Jeff Mead, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.